May pay-per-view UFC gets a new co-main event. Okay, I gotta tell you, that's fun. That's fun for me. Like, just by example, Dana talked about this over the weekend. He said we should have this buttoned up by Monday. Monday came and went. We don't have it buttoned up. Good. Good. I like to wait. I like to speculate. I mean, I've got to tell you that. There's a lot of options that appear to be coming in. It's fun to watch the guys maneuver. There is a massive game being played by shockingly few athletes. Right? I mean, imagine you get this announcement. You're with the UFC. This is your dream. You're a fighter. You've sacrificed. You've come up the hard way. You came through the regional scene. You finally get signed to the big promotion. They're always in search of a main event. Everybody's fighting to get a main event. But serendipitously, you have an opportunity to perform in a co-main event spot. The next best thing, it opens up. It just opens up right in front of you. And you would think with the 700 plus athletes under contract that 700 plus athletes would be vying for that position, but they haven't. As a matter of fact, I've seen 4. If there's a 5th and a 6th, I apologize. I have seen 4. 4 people have tried to get that spot. Now, of those 4 people, they have very compelling arguments. Dana gave us a little bit of what we thought was a clue. Somebody asked about Gilbert Burns, who was being very vocal, and Dana said, yes, it'll probably be him. But the way he said, yes, it'll probably be him, within the context of what he was discussing, it wasn't a commitment. But let's operate under that. Let's say that it's Gilbert Burns. Who would he be fighting with? Belal Muhammad appears to be the only welterweight who is prepared to make weight and is prepared to compete with any other welterweight on any given night. And that's not just Chael's opinion. Belal Muhammad came out on Twitter, said as much to Gilbert. To me, that feels like you have a fight. I mean, I got to tell you, when Belal Muhammad, a top guy, and Gilbert, a top guy, come together on Twitter and say that we'll fight each other, it feels to me like we now have a fight. But that's not always the way that it happens. I mean, just by example, Jon Jones has publicly said, and Stipe has publicly said, to the point that they fought and even pointed their daggers at each other, about who was the one blinking in terms of them fighting in July. Jones and Stipe have been extremely clear, at least publicly, that they'll do it. But we don't have the fight. And we know that the organization wants the fight. Right? I mean, you got to have that part of it. Don't forget, but we don't have the fight. Someone didn't answer their phone at the right time, or they didn't text back at the right time. Okay, fine. We've got Gilbert and we've got Belal, at least publicly, and history, being our trajectory to the future, says that both of those guys, when they say that they'll fight, mean it. But we don't have an announcement. As a matter of fact, we have the opposite of an announcement. We have Paulo Costa saying that it's him. Paulo Costa is claiming that they are in talks for him to move to 205 pounds and fight Jan Blachowicz. What do you guys think? I'm not heavy on it. I don't believe it, as a matter of fact. I don't think you would disrupt a very big fight, which is Paulo Costa versus Chimaev. I don't think you would disrupt that to put Paulo into a different weight class against a top contender. I love the match, though. I've wanted Paulo at 205. I don't get my way. Paulo's had a hard time making 185 pounds. There was even the night, you remember the Marvin Vettori fight, he did not make 185 pounds. Okay, great. You don't make 185, you're now a 205 pounder. Well, no, not so fast. Wanted to go back to middleweight, wanted to pursue his career, and he did successfully. I'm just sharing for you, like, the idea of Paulo at 205 pounds, particularly against the top guy, I like it, because I don't think Paulo would return to 185. I think he would stay at 205, which offers a very nice wrinkle within that division. So Paulo Costa has come out. He's claimed that he's even been contacted by Hunter Campbell. He claims that he's going to fight Blachowicz. Now, Paulo likes to have some fun with us. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. And surprisingly, Blachowicz has not responded. It would seem as though a perfect opportunity for Blachowicz to say yes, even if it's not even in talks, even if it's not even coming down the pike, just to get the headline, just to get the attention. The same with the other 700 plus athletes, none of which who have stepped forward. I mean, could you even imagine a scenario where Paulo says he'll do it against Jan Blachowicz? Blachowicz says he'll do it against Gilbert. And we all wake up one morning to a press release, and it's two athletes that aren't of the names that I just mentioned. Like, could you even imagine that? You turn your head sideways and say, why? It feels like you went to a lot of work and a lot of effort when the job was done and dropped in your lap right there. But we're not necessarily done. I mean, it brings me to another thought, which is Israel Adesanya versus Du Plessis. I feel as though that fight is done. Israel has called him out. Du Plessis has accepted. Israel is the champion. Du Plessis is the highest ranked athlete who has not yet had the opportunity. It feels like it's done. But it's not, right? So somewhere there's a back and forth, and you really never really know what's happening there. We always default and put it on the promotion. Well, it's not the direction the promotion wanted to go in. That's what we always do, but that is not entirely right. There's a lot of guys that puff their chest publicly and say that they'll do something, that respond on Twitter and accept a challenge. Sometimes they even issue the challenge that when the phone call comes behind closed doors doesn't say the same thing. That could be going on. But do you see the fact that we don't know, the fact that we're speculating, the fact that we're talking about it? That's my declaration of this entire point. Well, my entire point is that's fun. If we had the answer, which we will have, and we'll have it soon, we'll be excited, but now the fun is gone. It's all within the speculation. It's a really interesting thing, though. I mean, you've really got to understand, when one fight gets made, it is a massive domino effect. Right, let me go back to Blachowicz and Gilbert. I predict for you that is the fight. I'm predicting for you just because I know their willingness. I know it's an awesome fight. I know the public wants to see it. And of course, the comment that Dana made up at the press conference. That's my detective work. I don't have anything else. But stay with me on this. Those guys, Gilbert and Blachowicz, are now presented with a massive opportunity, which is to compete with each other, which would appear to be a very clear number one contenders match. It'd be a feature spot. Not to mention short notice is a big advantage to a lot of guys. Not having to sit and dwell and go through and plan and you can't psych yourself up, but you damn sure can psych yourself out. There's something about short notice for the good athletes that stay busy. That's a perk, okay? Just stay with me. If we make that fight, which I'm predicting we're going to, if we make that fight, don't forget, there right now in MMA is an argument and a narrative going on that Leon's not going to fight Colby. Not many of you, but some of you support that narrative. But just imagine what I just laid out for you. If Gilbert and Blachowicz come off the board because they found each other in an opportunity that they think is a good one, they want to take that opportunity. Do you see how Colby and Leon now become coupled together and the scenario is much different? I mean, I just offer that for you because anytime you make a move, other things end up happening as well. It's one of the main ideas that I'm very light on the idea of Bohashina taking on Blachowicz. It's not just because Jan, who's really peeked his head up lately on social media, and now he's gone back underground now that Paulo called him out. I just don't think there's any legs to it. I just don't. Because you're disrupting what is already done and what's already is a massive fight and what's already been agreed to for Abu Dhabi later in the year. That's my detective work. That is not bulletproof. That's not going to hold up in court. But it's a fair observation by me. We're going to see soon if I'm right. But I would predict for you, we're going to have Gilbert, we're going to have Blachowicz, we're going to have an announcement coming soon.